3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. And today, joining us, we have a fantastic guest, Chris Ryons from Broaxium. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
No, it's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you with us. Yes. So this is gonna be like a little different from some of our other conversations because here, like we were mentioned before, before recording, we're not experts or too familiar with some of the things that we're going to be discussing. So we're going to be deferring to you a little bit because I think you're the master of some of the.
I know a couple things, but I'm a master of nothing, my man. Nothing.
Oh, come on. Sounding like Mace Windu here. Come on.
Only
You're more than a
master
citizen here.
Yeah, I do not give myself the rank of master, and I tell myself
Well,
to have a seat, young Ryons.
Oh no.
That's very Socrates. That's very past. Like I only know that I know nothing. So in a way, that's the most wisest.
Self-aware.
So.
Correct. It's what's it called? The Diane Kruger effect. Like the more you start learning about something, the more you realize that you don't know anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't know shit.
And the inverse, though, the less you know about something, the more confident you are about it.
That's
That's no problem.
So like for this first segment, I don't know if you've seen some of our other episodes when we have a guest over, but first, before diving into like the main topics that we're going to discuss, we like to get to know our new friends. So it's a little bit of an informal interview segment, so we can get to know you and like some of our listeners can get to know you.
Sure.
So why don't we start a little bit with like you telling us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you're doing, how you got into Star Wars, some of those general things.
Well, as far as how I got into Star Wars, I was born. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. I'm
That's basically the best story.
Yeah, I've been a Star Wars fan for 44 of the 46 years I've been on this earth. So like I was born in 75, came out in 77.
Yeah.
It was over.
Done.
It was a wrap. I am a co-creator of Broaxium. We do comic book previews. We do comic book discussions. We have a podcast that we do, a live show that we do on Sunday nights called Shooting the Poodoo, where it's a bunch of Star Wars people, but we talk about Star Wars stuff, but we talk about other things. Like last week, we just did an episode on Star Trek. We just talked about that. So we mix it up. And we have a podcast called Star Bros podcast. Ben and Jan, those guys. Like I call it's like Star Wars ASMR. Like it's Star Wars easy listen. Like it's like it's just relaxing, very inclusive conversations that they have on there. And that's one of the goals for Broaxium is to make things as inclusive as possible. Nothing forced. It's just one of the things is when I started getting into watching anything that was going on as far as YouTube channels and for Star Wars, like maybe like starting around 2015, 2016, no, probably 2014. Yeah. Like 2014 and on. There was no voices for, people like me. People like y'all, you know what I mean? There was not a black and brown voices out there. So, except there was one dude who once I found his channel, I was like, I'm done with all these other ones, except for Star Wars Explained, because Alex is dope. But his name is Prince Bell from Urban Acolyte. Like he had a fantastic Star Wars channel. He talked about Star Wars like no one else, like no one else did, and I loved it. And plus, I was all about Finn at that point.
Right.
And I was like, everyone's talking about Rey. I'm like, well, no one's talking about Finn. His story is just as compelling, and his past is just as mysterious. But no one was giving him any play, and I'm like, yeah, I see what's happening here. But
right.
But Urban Acolyte, like Prince always, had a Finn story and wanted to dive more into that character, so I appreciated that. And then after a while, my bro Dan Miller and I started Broaxium, and that was my goal. Is I want to be one of these voices, in the Star Wars community, like just like another black voice, you know, for us out there, and that's it. I want to show that this fandom is not just one club out there. There's a whole, you know, there's a whole bunch of different, you know, people that love this stuff and need to be represented, and that's why that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
I
Star
mean,
Wars
that's
fans
great.
definitely come in all sizes, shapes, and colors.
Right.
So
that's right.
Definitely,
Yeah.
and it's something that we talk about a lot too. Obviously, the representation angle. Obviously, you know, it's a part of our promo / identity. Coming like, hey, this is Puerto Ricans talking about this, because I mean, and sometimes it feels a little exhausting, right? Being like, oh my God, we're talking about representation all the time. But I think it's such a pertinent discussion to have in terms of like the diversity of the voices out there, that I wish we didn't have to have it, right? And like diversity was just an inclusion.
But we gotta push it. We gotta push it until it's not a thing.
Right.
You know, until it's commonplace. So we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yep.
Definitely. No, and we definitely appreciate you having your voice here, and obviously what you do with Broaxium. Which I gotta say, like, if I knew nothing else about the channel, the title alone, I was like, I saw it's just like it's fantastic. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, who's in this? Is Brosidon here? It's like, what are we gonna do? Brocephus. I was like, because Mo and I have always like done those. I mean, every you know bro does that, right? They do all their little bro versions of every single word. So I'm like, I love this already. So tell us a little bit more about Broaxium and what you guys do. I think, like we mentioned before, I think some of the focus you have is like comic books, but you also have like your roundtable discussions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do our quick shot, which is comes out every Wednesday, 9 a.m. We preview that week's Star Wars comics. Our goal is to get people hyped to go out to the comic shops and grab these books, or get them off Comixology or something and grab these books. Because the comics are very, to me or to us in Broaxium, they are the connective tissue of Star Wars storytelling, and they do get glossed over a bit because it's not live action, so people aren't giving it the same kind of respect, but they should, because some of these stories are even more exciting than hot take, or even more exciting than some of the movies.
Right.
Original trilogy included. So I know some people may get pissed off with that, but yeah, they're just, there are some amazing stories out there, and they're deep, and you know, they really do add more weight and depth to the characters and situations from the movies. So I do think it's a fantastic companion. Same thing with the novels. You know, they really do help to round out this entire saga, and yeah, it's something we should all be. You know, everyone needs to. I think every Star Wars fan should be at least checking out some of the comics or whatnot, because it's just fantastic storytelling.
What drew you first into comics? Like, what was that moment where you felt like, or were you just looking for more Star Wars and just happened?
As far as Star Wars, I'm a kind of person where I'm not an original trilogy person. I'm not a prequel trilogy person. I'm not a sequel trilogy person. I love Star Wars. Give it to me in any denomination. Don't matter. I will take it. It could be a brown paper bag and it's got Star Wars written on it. I'm like, I need that. Like, I want that. So yeah, as far as getting into the comics, like, Star Wars didn't get me into the comics. Superman got me into the comics. But when they started coming out with, like, I had some of the old, like, 80s or 70s and 80s Marvel Star Wars comics when they first came out. I have a bunch of those. They were weird. But I had them, loved them. And then when Dark Horse took over, back in the, I think, late 80s, early 90s, when they grabbed up Star Wars, and there were just a bunch of super dope stories, like Tales from the Jedi and things like that, with like Nobi Sunrider and Exar Kun and Eula Keldroma and Kay Keldroma, and like those kind of stories. Loved all that stuff. Dark Empire was amazing. So yeah, I loved all that. Yeah. So those are the things that kind of get me going. Yeah.
So you were a fan of just comics in general before you started diving into like the Star Wars comics?
I wasn't hardcore comics, but I read a whole bunch. I wouldn't consider myself any kind of at least back then, and still now, and some kind of aficionado of it. I just dug the stories I was reading. I liked the art. But I think probably in 1993, my senior year in high school, I'm old. I
don't know. Age is relative. No, don't worry.
I'll tell my gray hairs that. Hopefully, the death of Superman was the thing that got me into comics, and the reign of the Superman. That whole thing, like, really, it just shot off like a rocket at that point. So that's what got me going into it.
That's like a combination of Star Wars and comics, and then
right. I mean, I think to your point about comic books kind of living in this weird place in the Star Wars community, right? Of like media isn't consumed as much. I think it's interesting though, because it's kind of that in between space, right? Of like the live action / films and the novels, because, you know, it's literally images on the page. So it's like both worlds live in there at the same time. So you kind of get a little something extra that the books don't offer. So it's definitely like a medium, especially now that like I mentioned before, I haven't been reading like all the Star Wars comics that are out there. There's, I mean, too much, but like those the things that like I have been reading.
I love the fact that there is too much out there. Because if I had this when I was, you know, like 8 years old, like, you know, after watching Return of the Jedi, and you just, if I was transported into this world right now, outside of everything political and all that kind of stuff, I'd be swimming in Star Wars stuff. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Right. You know, oh, it'd be amazing. So so I'm kind of making up for it. So I'm trying to ingest as much as I can.
Right. So especially now that we're gonna be, as you know, adults, you can just buy whatever you want. And you're like, parents can't limit how much Star Wars we're reading.
Nope.
You just do whatever we want.
So much money spent on Star Wars.
Yeah.
So much.
Right. It's like I used to think that I wasn't gonna, I was gonna take it easy at some point, but I think I've been like ramping it up lately. It's kind of like, oh my God.
You don't even see that it goes all the way that way.
One day I'll have
Series figures.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Nice.
It's all about the black series. I just got the Anakin one from the 50th anniversary Clone Wars. I thought I wasn't going. I got to Target I went to the Target and they didn't have them. I'm like, just ask someone, maybe they'll have it. And they had like 3 like in the basement. So no luck with Obi-Wan.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking for it now. I'm jealous, man. I can't find those.
They're tough. I don't know why they wouldn't just sell them online. I mean, on the Target website, not the scalpers on eBay.
Right.
Scalpers are the worst. They're the worst, and they're bots. But what are we gonna do?
It's the new world. It's weird.
Right. Like before, no one wanted this stuff. Now it's just like
now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
One day maybe Matt Latner and Hayden can sign that. Maybe next celebration. We'll see. But shifting gears a little bit with your story with Broaxium, obviously, many people might know this, and if they don't, they will now. But you guys had a kind of collaboration of sorts, right, with another channel, friends of everybody, I guess. Blue Bantha Milk, for their series of artificial intelligence films.
Insane.
It even got featured in Gizmodo, if I'm not mistaken. It really, or Gizmodo or Wired, I don't know, one of these websites. Which it's, it's always interesting to see, obviously, fans that are passionate doing something, kind of getting the recognition it deserves, because, passion and people having fun is, what we're all here to do at the end of the day. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, how the, connection with Blue Bantha Milk happened, what these series are.
Well, they contacted us out of they contacted us out of the blue, like I no pun intended to Blue Bantha, but
thanks for letting me know. I wouldn't have caught it.
They contacted us about about coming on and doing a script reading, and like we knew of them, but we had never met Matt and Sean before, and they contacted us about doing it, and I was like, what, I get to do a script reading? I'm in. Like, I love to do voices and things like that. So and I've got an acting background, and Dan is really good with voices and whatnot too. So I was like, let's bring Dan on this, and you know, let's give him a part and let's do the thing. I thought it was very ambitious, like, you know, getting a bunch of different Star Wars YouTubers together and doing this thing. And for us, we were kind of been doing our own thing and just like grinding since 2018, and keep putting out shows and whatnot. And this, outside of when I did a segment for Alex on Star Wars Explained back in July 2020, this really helped to get us out there more. And just it's the first time, and you know, it took us 3 years, but this is the first time that we really felt a part of the online Star Wars community of content creators, and it was a pretty good feeling. And you know, Dan and I got to showcase some of our voice acting talents and whatnot, and doing different impressions and voices and whatnot. And I made it a point not to read anything from the script. I just wanted to be surprised when you know, we went live and started reading this thing. I'm like, man, I hope I don't look like a fool out here doing this.
No practice, we'll do it live.
Yeah, we're just gonna do it live. So I you know, I just came up with a few voices for some of the characters, and I guess people dug it. But yeah, I don't know what kind of AI they were feeding all these scripts to, but that AI was smoking something, because like just the stuff that you know that came out of it for the episode 10 and for the Solo sequel was is insane. Like having me say things like the Lando thing, where I'm like something about being a hero from the movies or something like that in the script, and I'm like, this is all right. You know, so
like
yeah,
breaking the fourth wall. It's like, I don't know.
They disintegrated that fourth wall. They they destroyed it. But yeah, I thought, yeah, it's so much fun, and we're about to do some more. Dan and I are about to do more. Dan has it's the episode 2.5, where it's gonna be a romantic comedy for Anakin and Padme, and that's going to be hilarious.
Oh,
that sounds good.
And,
that sounds awesome.
It'll probably be better than.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing Calrissian Chronicles, where is Lando retelling all kinds of different weird adventures and stuff like that. And I don't know how many sexual innuendos are going to be in this thing, because I haven't seen the script yet. They're done. The way the show is going to go is I'm doing it on green screen. I'm going to read them for the first time. You know, as we do them, there's going to be no takes. It's going to be all my reactions and whatnot while I'm reading this, doing the Lando voice and all that stuff. It's going to be insane. I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, so we get the honest reactions to some of that writing.
Right. So the bloopers will be just incorporated into the thing. Right?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Yep. I bet there's going to be tons of sexual innuendo there.
Oh,
so.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it can't be a Calrissian Chronicle without at least 80% of innuendo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the man is sexual chocolate for a reason.
Sexual space chocolate. That's right.
Exactly.
Correct.
Hey, I'm curious about this though, because I mean, I have no idea how artificial intelligence writing machines work. I've only seen what you guys have done, and some I think Corridor Crew also does some of that stuff on YouTube. So I've seen some of their things as well. So I don't know if there's any like postscript doctoring that happens. Like it's some
I think
like the guys look at it and are like, oh, we gotta fix some of this stuff.
I think so. Yeah, just to kind of smooth some things out. I think that they do that, but that process, I don't know. I just wait for the finished product so I could belt them out later. Yeah,
like a true star. Like it's like
waiting in the trailer.
Just exactly. Like, just feed me the lines. Too many.
just let me know what I need to say.
Part of the fun has to be like actively reacting to the writing. Like, I have to say this. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Like I like any reaction that you've seen, if you watch them, any reaction you see is absolute truth. There's no embellishing anything like that. It's the lines are that insane. And then like, oh my god, this is live. Yeah. So I was like, oh man. So yeah.
Is the Calrissian Chronicles that you're gonna do? Is it just gonna be you solo, or is like other people gonna like input on that one?
I think for now, at least the first, there are 2 scripts done right now, and I'm gonna shoot those at some point this week. But yeah, right now it's just me. But if anyone, it'd be hilarious if like other people would like drop in or something like that. But yeah, right now it's just me for the moment.
Okay, well, that sounds exciting and
like
fun.
Something to look forward to. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air from all the Star Wars drama online about Moochie the Rancor from Return of the Jedi. It's like it's fun to just like kick back, relax, and just have some fun with Star Wars instead of taking.
God forbid anyone to have
seriously.
some fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like all of us uptight adults with toys inside their packaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Moochie, that Moochie Patisa thing didn't bother me because it's not like the stuff in Bad Batch happened the day before the stuff in Return of the Jedi happened. So there's 20 good years between there. So either Moochie is still around or whatnot. But we know that that Rancor Patisa, I think, was a male Rancor, and this one
allegedly
Moochie, allegedly.
I saw the. Alex did the video, I think it was today or yesterday about it. So this is the only way I get to learn about that much of a deep cut. Apparently, Patisa was mentioned in the Chuck Wendig Aftermath book. And then the being identified as a male was from a reference dictionary, one of those reference dictionary books. That's according to Star Wars Explained.
Either way, Luke had to defend himself. It's not like he went to Jabba's palace specifically to kill Moochie. He
or
had
Patisa now, whatever.
Yeah, or Moochie Patisa. Yeah, whichever. Yeah, it's not like he went there to kill a Rancor.
The intent.
Yeah, on purpose. Yeah, like
he didn't know that it was a very cute Rancor in his teenage years.
I want to be a Rancor hunter now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, aside from the fact, like you were saying, I mean, it's been 20 years. Like Moochie could have been a mate that they were choosing for Patisa, or Patisa could be a child of Moochie. Like, I mean, a bunch of things could have happened just because it doesn't.
Or she's somewhere else. Maybe like she like we don't know how like we see with other species.
Like if he had like a Rancor farm somewhere living in paradise, we don't know.
That's what I was gonna say. We don't know how Rancors age, right? So maybe she's like really old and they just retire her to green pastures.
Yeah,
in a Rancor retirement home.
Or they're like parrot fishes. They're born female, and then by need sometimes they just turn male. Like it could be about Rancor physiology. So
see, just right now we came up with a million theories of how this could have worked, and people just have to nitpick at why it can't happen. No, it has to be exactly.
But at the end of the day, I think the question though about is like, does it matter? It's like,
shouldn't really.
Does it change something? Does it change what happened to Luke? Does it change anything
about the essence of the story?
But I think it should, and it does, because it changes. That's what Omega's doing. Like you're also showing that they're not animals. They're also part of the surroundings. So now, in a way, by humanizing them, you're also putting up your own morals. Like, would I do this if I knew this was a conscious being? Like, would Luke have acted differently, or was that Rancor also a slave?
Yeah.
So it's a good approach, I think.
Fortunately, Luke didn't have a chance to interview the Rancor. Like, now, why are you doing this? Like, I need to know this before I throw this rock, at the door switch and
control switch.
Your head. Yeah.
Because I'm about to get eaten.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. I mean,
that was the motivation.
Who knows? So I mean, that's an interesting thing that like fans just get too hung up about, which kind of leads me to like a question I think that we asked many of the people that we have over, because it's such a pertinent thing with how the discourse goes along the interwebs and the YouTubes and all that stuff. But what's your perspective? I mean, since we were talking about how fans react to Moochie, but what's your perspective about like the state of fandom currently? I mean, you were talking a little bit about the reason you started Broaxium, having like more diverse voices out there based on how you were seeing fandom back then. Has that changed? Is it worse? Is it better? What are your thoughts on that?
I just think that the negativity is extra loud. And I don't think that it eclipses any of the positive stuff for the people that just want to enjoy Star Wars. They're just louder and more aggressive. Unfortunately, there are people out there that want to how do I put it? I'm not trying to curse, but
feel free though.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who want to shit in other people's cornflakes, you know, and they don't want anyone to enjoy anything because things aren't the same way as they were, I guess, you know, growing up or whatever, or maybe they're just mad that there's more color being added to. You know,
multi-grain more, now. It's not bleached anymore. Cornflakes.
There you go.
I like that one.
Like you know, for the longest time, as far as you know, like female characters or black characters, we had Leia and Lando.
That's it.
That's it. You know, when I was a kid, I had, and not like a whole bunch, but I had multiple Lando figures, and when I was playing with them, it would be like they're not both Lando or three of them aren't Lando. It's these are just all these different black characters because I couldn't. That's all I had. Like to me, Darth Vader was always black. You can't tell me any different. But
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it just. But yeah, like all we had was Lando, and then it was like, oh man, we got Mace Windu. I'm like, all right, now we got two. I'm like, oh, fantastic. You know, like, wow, we're getting somewhere. You know,
and you should be happy. Like you just
what an H trilogy. Exactly, that's the thing.
You got two.
Like,
Come on,
sit
be
down,
happy.
calm down. Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
and then we get a Pab as a female, and then they kill her at childbirth.
Yeah. And that's one of the great positives of the acquisition that you know, the Disney acquisition and Lucasfilm is they really you know, and I know some fans hate the word, but they really did diversify the pool of characters between gender and ethnicity and all that. So yeah, I can't complain because like you know, we got Saul Guerrero, we got Jana, we've got my favorite actor of all time, Carl Weathers, is Greef Karga in Mandalorian. I love that. Giancarlo Esposito. Diego Luna. Donnie Yen. And Jian Wen from Rogue One. So many. And I just love that there's just so many more, you know, not to like take like or to brush white people aside or anything like that, but it's just we're here too, you know. It's like, you know. So I'm glad that those numbers are starting to even out. Just some people, you know, some people don't like it. It's like what Palpatine said in I think it was Revenge of the Sith. He said all people are afraid of losing power, even the Jedi. So and when some people see that other nationalities and races, I guess, are starting to get just as much attention, they feel like that they're losing something. I'm like, no, you're not. It's just it's all.
It's like everybody's on the same level. That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of those weird things where like a lot of the people that complain about forced I hate that term, forced diversity. It's like, well, how the hell else are we gonna get diversity? We don't force it, I guess. It's like if you include like it's like if you don't include like an LGBTQ character or like a character of color, then you're by definition not representing them. So like just because a character happens to exist that happens to be of that persuasion, either sexually or of color, it's not forced. It's just included. So like I don't know how else to include characters except by including them. So I don't know why people complain about it.
And they get mad. It's like, you know, people are making an announcement like it's like you find out that a character is LGBTQ or something, and they're like, oh, why are you shoving it down my throat? I'm like, they're not. They're just saying, yeah, this character is this. Right.
But it's like when Finn was, when John Boyega was announced, right, to be like a stormtrooper, and people, well, not everybody, but white people lost their collective minds. And I'm like, why? It's like it's a person. We know stormtroopers are people. It's like why?
But they go, but stormtroopers aren't black. They're the clones from the prequels. I'm like, they're not those are conscripts. All the stormtroopers are conscripts. They're a whole bunch of different people, and the galaxy is full of different people.
Yeah.
And if they were clones, that means that they're, brown character.
Yeah.
Because, they're from New Zealand,
but
so they can't be white.
They couldn't get with it. Oh well, it happened. No, he's there. Can't do anything about it.
And he's gonna be a Jedi, so they can deal with it.
Yeah, they should have focused on that a little bit more.
Oh, definitely.
What's your hot take on the whole Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker?
I love Last Jedi. There. I love Last Jedi. But you mean as far as like their execution of the Finn character?
Sure. I mean, first I was going to.
That's
go right
my only problem.
Global.
That is my only issue with the sequel trilogy, is I don't know if like Finn had a bigger role, and then getting closer to, they were like, people aren't gonna want to see a black lead or not, so let's tone him down a little bit. And let's bring up the Rey character, because when I can't even begin to tell you how over the moon I was when, not just that he was announced, but that he was announced as a main character. And I was like, this is our first black main character. I'm like, oh man. And then I'm finding out more and seeing character sketches and things like that. Then come to find out he's got the Skywalker saber. I was like, are you kidding me? We got a black lead and he's going to be the Jedi. What? Yeah. I was over the moon. And then the movie came out. And it was all Rey. Everything with Rey. The saber went to Rey. The Millennium Falcon went to Rey. All that stuff. Everything went to Rey. And he got his back slashed and he was knocked out at the end. But they gave us that two slivers of hope with him in Force Awakens, where in the beginning of the movie, Kylo Ren notices him like on Jakku and focuses in on him. I was like, ooh, okay, he may sense something that's in him. And then with the destruction of Hazian Prime, Finn was the only person who I think he was helping load the ship up for the Crimson Corsair, and then he notices it before it happens and looks up at the sky. And I was like, he's Force sensitive. Like, okay, cool. And then they left it alone for 2 movies. And then they kind of hinted at it in the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
They didn't in the 2nd one. And to me, I'm sorry, hot take, Last Jedi is a masterpiece to me.
Agreed.
But they didn't do anything to further that character as far as his Force sensibility goes. Right. He learned more about what it is to be a part of the Resistance, and he had to come to grips with that, and that's fantastic. I just wish they would have maybe.
I wonder now if originally, Finn and Rey would have been the Triad versus.
I think that's probably the case because he was supposed to be a lot more proficient with that saber than what we saw. Like he had a lot to do, and then they cut out a lot of his action and I guess his and then it could have been the backlash from the trailers. Just that. Yeah, they got scared.
I mean, I think it's odd considering, Black Panther. They saw that, Afrocentric movie with a black lead can also make billions of dollars in the box office. So why can't,
Well, they got scared then, and then, as time goes on, they learn more, and then Black Panther was able to happen. So I'm hoping at some point we will have a wait, do we? No. A black lead. And I don't mean like full black. I just mean maybe the main character's black.
Well, we have the Lando show, right?
We got Lando.
But new characters, right?
Yeah. And or an alien led, just like an alien main character. Well, we do with Ahsoka. What am I saying? Yeah, we got the Ahsoka show coming out. So
yeah, we saw Ahsoka.
Things are getting
a little bit better.
We're getting there, yeah.
Better.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Just sprinkling it little by little.
I mean, sprinkle by sprinkle, you get a mountain, right?
Yeah. You gotta,
and with that's too what happened with Muchi. You have them focusing more on the alien characters and the droid characters and what it means to be human and all these things. So I think they're sometimes they retreat a little bit, but some things they do actually make it move forward. So I think they're in general going in a better direction. So let's continue to hope that they continue to do that.
Yeah.
Right. The only reason like I have a thing against having aliens, I guess. I mean, not that I don't want aliens in Star Wars, because that's a big part of Star Wars. Right. But I prefer to have like all the POCs be themselves, not be like it's like, oh, it's POCs, so we got to put them under makeup.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like just show them off. It's like, hey, we're black, we're brown, we're we're Asian, whatever. It's just like just show them.
I still feel bad for Lupita Nyong'o. Because
it's like you made her like a 4-inch Yoda with the butthole eyes. It's like, come on, and she's one of the most beautiful women in the world, and you're gonna not even show her. I don't understand.
Hopefully, do something with that, and maybe do something for her and give her a character outside of the Maz Kanata thing. So hopefully,
maybe
right. But that's one of the things specifically with Rise of Skywalker that I found really frustrating, is that there was so much potential with Finn's character to like be like, this is what everyone has been talking about for years and what's thinking that was going to happen. It's the Stormtrooper revolution, right? That was supposed to Finn was supposed to inspire, which was there in that alleged Duel of the Fates script. And instead what we got was Finn yelling for Rey for the whole movie, and him saying, I have to tell you something, but then he never tells her.
Never got to it.
It's like, I didn't go to screenwriting school, but I would assume that if you're going to write something in your script, there needs to be a payoff.
I mean, they alluded to it, I guess, to keep things open for maybe future stories, past Rise of Skywalker, but it flew past some people. And and like, they did with him what they did with Leia. Like at the end of Empire Strikes Back, when Luke is hanging there about to fall off, and he calls out to her, through the Force, and she hears it, she senses it. Same thing happened when Rey died, and then
Finn
felt that, they did that. So I mean, I get what they're doing there, but a lot of times with audiences nowadays, you need to like spell it out. So that people understand what it is. So hopefully, if they do continue any kind of Finn story, we get him further learning how to use the Force, and not necessarily be a Jedi, but maybe just a Force user. Yeah, just a good Force user. Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was the most genius thing that Last Jedi was setting up. That I thought that was the point of the title, Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, oh, Jedi are done. Like, we understand that Jedi failed. We need something different. And Rey said something different. And Finn was going to be that with her. And instead of Jedi, was going to be the Skywalkers.
That's what I thought.
And I was like, that's what's going on. And then it's just like, no, actually, Jedi, we're the good guys. That lightsaber that we threw out? No, we're going to do it again. That it's like, there was so much backpedaling and some of those super interesting concepts that was like, oh, you were close. You were this close to genius. And instead of Rise of Skywalker, it's just her changing her last name in court. It's like, hey, go to space court and be like, scratch my last name, do the new one.
Yeah, that I thought was all right. I was okay with that. In a way, this could be. Like Palpatine to me is like outside of R2D2 is the smartest character in Star Wars. So this could all be some Palpatine long game. He's like, I got a Palpatine who's a Skywalker now. That
Palpatine could still be back.
Yeah.
Evil never dies.
Like all the part of my plan.
Hey, as I'm okay with it. It's like it's Palpatine. It's like, oh my god, again. But yes, I love Ian McDermott going full camp and doing the Palpatine voice. I'm okay with it.
Hey, it would have been executed correctly. It would have been fantastic because Palpatine is the absolute bad guy of the entire saga. So if executed correctly, it would have been genius.
It would have been,
kind of badly executed. So it just didn't make sense how they did it.
But what they're doing in the comics and some other ancillary stories is they're adding that weight to what happened with Rise of Skywalker. Like in the recent Darth Vader comics, Vader's gone to Exegol, and so you see you see, the vats and whatnot that Snoke would be in or something, and you see Luke's severed hand in one of the vats. So
Muchi is in one of the vats.
Muchi's in there.
Wow.
And Omega's in another one, I think.
Yeah. But they're that's one thing about the comics, that they're alluding to something that, was Snoke cloned from like part Palpatine and part Luke, or what, like, what's going on with that. So there's that opens up so much more stuff and adds. It makes me want to go back now and watch Rise of Skywalker again and just like look at those scenes more carefully.
Yeah.
Now
The scenery, the background. I'm sure
Exegol was like really cool. I just think that it's kind of like could have had more. And I think even though like I appreciate comics and books kind of filling in those gaps, it's kind of weird because I feel like we shouldn't need to. Like the movie should be its own thing, like explain it, and then the books and movies and comic books can explore more. But we shouldn't be dependent on it to have everything else make sense. But that's the movie we got.
But like all those other stories make me want to go back and watch the movies again and just watch it with a new set of eyes with that information that I got from those books. So I love that kind of stuff. And an excuse to watch any of the movies again.
True.
Yeah.
Like I got new information, gotta rewatch it so I can
it's
experience it a whole new way. It's always for science.
Yeah, just like watching the prequels after watching Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Exactly. Watching
a whole different experience.
Episode 3 after the last season of the Clone Wars and seeing all the Anakin scenes with a new perspective, knowing that he just left Ahsoka. It's kind of like, oh great, a little extra something.
And the Vader, also the Vader comic that Greg Pak is writing, he puts in a lot of things. So you see a lot of Vader's pain, because he's always thinking back to Padme and everything that happened on Naboo, and the book, the two Padme books that came out, Queen's. Oh man,
I know one is Peril.
Yeah, Queen's Peril, and oh man, I forgot the name of the other.
Gambit is the show. I always I always mess that up.
I was going to say. I was going to say Gambit. It's Queen's Peril, and I forget the other one. Queen's Shadow. Was that it?
No, because I know there's gonna be a third one. I don't know if the third one came out, so
not yet. But
not the best person to ask about those.
but like those comics and those two books add so much more heft to what we know of the Naboo culture and those handmaidens and all that stuff. Where and some of those handmaidens in the comic after Padme's death, they created a group called the Amidalans. And they wanted to avenge her death, and they want to avenge hers and Anakin's death because they think that Darth Vader killed them both, which in a way is true, So I love that they can take small things, not small things, but there's some things from the movies, put them into the comics, expand on it more. And it makes me want to, just go back and watch those movies again with that knowledge, and it just makes it that much more heavier.
Interesting.
I checked, by the way, and you were right. It is Queen's Shadow.
Queen's Shadow.
The second one.
Now that we're full into the comic book conversation, which is like the main part of the discussion, right, for today, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about and see your thoughts on to kind of kick things off was you were mentioning before, like the original Marvel run of comics back in the day, and then the transition into the Dark Horse comics for the expanded universe, and now we obviously have the new Marvel, the synergy. What are your? I mean, did you used to? You already told us that you read the Dark Horse comics. What was your opinion about those comics, especially when we compare them with the comic books we're getting now from Marvel? Were they like a little more mature and gritty, or were the stories not as good as the ones we're getting now? What are your general thoughts?
The current comics benefit from all the knowledge of everything that came before it. Like how the Jedi are, how that universe is, how the Force works, so to speak. So back then it wasn't as fleshed out as it is now, So I sort of prefer what's going on now because it's all that stuff and it's much more of a concise, connected, storylines. But I love the Dark Horse stuff. I loved all that stuff, and that could still be canon because a lot of that stuff, it was like thousands of years before, with like Nomi Sunrider and Yuta Keldroma and all that stuff. So, yeah, but I think I do prefer what's going on now because there's they give it, not that they didn't give it the seriousness that it needed before, but they're really on point with making these stories as important as they need to be. So I'm all about it.
What are the main stories that you're reading currently? Because I know there's like the War of the Bounty Hunters is just coming out. Obviously, we have the High Republic stuff, Darth Vader, as you mentioned. So, I mean, are you reading all of them right now, or is there like one particular series that you're like,
Yes, give me everything.
Yes, I'm reading all of it, every last bit. Like I said, man, I give me Star Wars.
Any Star Wars.
Just give me, and I will take it. Like I do the audiobooks. I have the audiobooks, and then like I'm looking at my bookcase right now, and I've got all the novels as well for them. The comics, I do all the comics, all the animated series. I watch them all. Anything Star Wars related, it's just love it.
What's your favorite run of comic books that's currently out right now?
I can't do that.
they're like, too precious.
When people ask me, like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? I'm like, I love it all. Like, I'll say what I've watched more. Like, I watched Return of the Jedi more than any of the others. But I love it all. I don't do the whole, I prefer this to this or anything like that. It's Star Wars. So I love it. I don't know what my favorite series right now, because each one is giving me something different, so I can't really pick a favorite. Like
how about which one has given you more?
Probably the Vader series.
Okay.
Probably the Vader series.
Is this Vader series like a sequel to like the Charles Soule one? Or is it supposed to be like the same?
Like it's well, it's all the same universe, but this series picks up right after Empire Strikes Back. So we're seeing a transition for Luke in the current Star Wars main title, which is also between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and we're seeing because you can tell like Vader was a little bit different between Empire Strikes Back and what we see in Return of the Jedi. Like it seems like his I don't know if it's his spirit that is starting to, or is maybe the dark side in him and all that is starting to weaken a bit and whatnot. So we see him struggle with that in these comics. And then he's, and that's that story arc just ended right now, and it's about to go into this War of the Bounty Hunters thing. So, yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to War of the Bounty Hunters because that is going to cross over all the books, and we're really going to get to see the criminal underworld. And there's a couple of things that I think are going to happen, which I'm really excited about. I hope it happens. But
what's your theory?
So the premise for War of the Bounty Hunters is it's Boba Fett's journey with Han Solo to Jabba in Carbonite. But the carbonite, the whole mechanism is messing up and it's starting to degrade, and it could kill Solo. So Boba takes it to someone to have it fixed, and that person says, if you can do this, I'll do this for you if you do something for me, and kill somebody off. That's just so while Boba is off taking care of this job for this person who's going to fix the carbonite mechanism, someone kills the guy and steals Han Solo. So there's people wondering who, and that's one of the things, is who stole him, who did this. And there was a commenter on one of our quick shots who brought up something that blew my mind, and I keep messing up and forgetting this dude's name, and I feel so bad. But he said that it could be Kira from Solo.
Interesting.
And you know, because she's always in her way. She was always trying to help him out and keep him steer him clear of any kind of real trouble. And I think I like as soon as he put that out there, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I hope that's the case. I'll be happy with whatever they do, probably. But
it's fine. But
yeah. But
however,
I would love for that to be the case, and it's Kira that this is that would be. It would bring for people who maybe mainly watch the movies, you know, or the TV shows. This could be something. This could be such a big name drop in the comics that'll get people to read these comics and start to see the legitimacy of the comics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I dig it. I like it. I can see that because it's like that's one character that they left in like hanging because it's like it's set up such an interesting story potential with with Crimson Dawn and Maul, and it's all of a sudden it's just like no follow up whatsoever. Yeah. So
it's kind of like Finn saying, "I got to tell you something," but no.
But
yeah,
stick around.
Stick around.
It's been a couple of years now.
I tell you, I went into the Solo movie. I was like, I'm all about Lando. Like, give me all the Lando. Yep. Like that's all I'm really like. I loved it all, but I'm focusing on Lando. Like,
I'm looking for Lando.
This is a Lando movie for me. I came out of that movie wanting to know everything about Kira. She was the most intriguing character, and considering where we find Maul in Rebels, I need to know what happened to where he's there and not at the head of Crimson Dawn. What happened to Crimson Dawn? Did she take him out or what? Like, or what happened? Did she take over or what? So this could be that case, man. I hope that's. I'll find out this week because the first issue's coming out. So for War of the Bounty, so
you got me excited for that. I might just go and get the issue myself. Yeah.
I feel like I need to get into the comics now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it.
I mean, it's interesting because I did the previous run that I did before reading like the High Republic stuff that I'm reading now was the Rise of Kylo Ren, and that was absolutely fantastic. Like, I love that stuff. Yeah. And one of the things that I've been liking is one of the things we were mentioning too is like how the comics are kind of tying everything together, and was this thing that I obviously didn't pick up at the time because like the High Republic wasn't out yet, but the planet that Snoke is in Rise of Kylo Ren is like the space station planet thing that they go in
Test of Courage.
Into the dark.
Into the dark. That's it. Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, that's some next level planning stuff.
Yep. And that's because Charles Soule wrote the Rise of Kylo Ren, and he's one of the the main writers for the High Republic. So he's throwing this stuff from the comics and back and forth. And Kevin Scott was, I think, the first one to mention anything about the High Republic in the that original audio drama for with Count Dooku. Jedi Lost, I think, was the name of it. But so that was the first time. So they're peppering that stuff in and
well, didn't
just making it into the
comics
universe.
Have like a holocron or something with Avar Chris or something, or something with Starlight Beacon, I think. But there was something where Finn was talking about the High Republic. I just don't remember what comic.
It's one of the books. Is it like Resistance Reborn? Was he? Yeah.
No, it was a comic book for sure.
Oh,
I remember reading about that. But since I don't read the comics, I don't know which one.
I'll have to see because I know. Think of all the Finn appearances. He was in the. There's an Age of Resistance book that was all about Finn. And then maybe the Star Wars Allegiance series, which was a in between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I'll have to reread those. See, I don't mind it. I don't mind rereading the stuff. But I'll go back and have to see. Yeah.
And
are they doing more justice to Finn's character in the comics? Still not there.
Not even close. That seems like not close.
No, it's still like he's scared, or he doesn't know how to defend himself, or he's like all nervous or whatever. And I'm like,
he's just weak off. Okay,
stop making him a buffoon. Like they do a lot of times they'll write him as a buffoon. I'm like, stop. He's one of the best troopers to come out of that out of their that First Order Trooper Academy or whatever. He's one of the top. He's one of the top scored and skilled guys, and They make no mention of that in the movies or anything like that. So people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's just a janitor." I'm like, every trooper.
That's what I was gonna say.
Every
That's
trooper
one of the
had a
things
job
that
to
rubbed
do.
me the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's like, as the guy who used to mop, it's like, why do you gotta make
Yeah.
the guy that mops the space station? Come on.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah, I was I wasn't too happy about that one.
It's like, as the guy who used to patrol it, you could say a million things, but why does he?
But that's the one thing.
The joke about it.
In in a lot of military, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. But in the military, at least some of it, like every soldier has another job
every job.
Do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
it's
people
not
are like,
supposed to be something degrading. Yeah.
Right.
It's not supposed to be that way. It's like, that was my job at the time. He was probably he could have been in rotation doing different jobs, but they kind of just focused on that.
Yeah, they kind of neutered him when they had said, like, he's like, what do you do? Sanitation. All of a sudden everyone was like, oh, okay. Then
I think
he's just some chump.
One of those jokes that should not have made it past the script level. So then maybe we should not.
Let's not do the brother like that. But they did. So.
Yep.
But he seems to be game to John Boyega seems to be game to come back if the right pieces are there. So hopefully we get some Findemption, right?
Yeah, that'll be hashtag. I hope that happens. Because between Force Awakens and Last Jedi, I was like, all right, I want him and Poe on some kind of Star Bros mission where those two are since the Resistance at that, it doesn't have nearly the same numbers that between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that stormtrooper revolution of some kind where they were able to recruit a bunch of troopers and like go undercover or something like that in the First Order and recruit a bunch of these guys and maybe like break that programming. Like they hinted at it with Jannah, with the character from Rise of Skywalker, but they didn't go any further with it. And I really wish they would have. That would have given his character so much more weight and not just someone running around yelling Rey or just following up after her or something. So but we got what we got. But yeah, they can always write something afterwards to get that Findemption.
Hashtag that.
Findemption.
Sometimes I come up with a hashtag, but this is the first one, I guess. But talking about Finn's story and like all the stories in the comic books, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't have a little discussion about the canonicity of comic books and in the larger Star Wars, storytelling, because we touched on it with Muchi a little bit, but I think the big one, right, that happened recently was also Bad Batch with Caleb Doom and Order 66, and the comics say that it happened one way and it happened slightly different in the in the show. So does that, obviously now the discussion is like, do TV shows invalidate comics? And it's like, what's the what's your take on that?
And like when it happened, it didn't bother me because the writer in me is like, well, you got to massage some things to make it fit for you, for the story overall. So, all the stuff in the comic, some of it can still happen. It's just now with what they put in with Bad Batch, you have to maybe just Rubik's Cube it a different way, and just to to make it work. But it didn't upset me, but I was like, because the comic was fantastic. But this still worked. So there's a way that you can combine the two, I think, and make it coherent. Hopefully this isn't a trend where they keep doing this, but I know it happened with that. I know what happened with the Ahsoka novel. There was some stuff in there, and then I think also with Cobb Vanth from the Aftermath book and what they did with him in Mando. So You know, I would hope that they going forward will give more respect to the stories in the comics. They need to be just as important. They need to be held in the same kind of regard, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially if you want people to invest in them, right? More so than the hardcore fans. It's like, hey, we're getting a payoff if you start reading these things, so it'll tie back, which I think is one of the things that High Republic is doing exceedingly well, and it ties to the conversation. We'll talk a little bit about Jajan's recent comments about having a plan. But High Republic has a plan that was under wraps for who knows how long, and everything's just tying together in a amazing way with both the Daniel Jose Older comics, with the Marvel Run comics, and then obviously the books. Novels, and hopefully that trend keeps going now when the Acolyte comes out, since that's going to be High Republic-ish.
Yeah, so, I think that's at the tail end of the High Republic. I think that's when Acolyte's supposed to take place. We interviewed Daniel Jose Older on our on Broaxium at a few months back. And I think I asked him, I think either before we started recording or it was during the thing, because I didn't want him to say anything that would get him in trouble. I don't want no Disney snipers coming out of nowhere. And, but
watching, they're always watching.
Oh yeah, they're always watching. I'm always looking over. But because like one of my favorite sci-fi series is called Babylon 5, written by J. Michael Straczynski, and he had the entire 5-season show written out. Had it all mapped out before they started shooting. So I asked him, like, how much do you guys have the full story, at least the skeleton of the story, for the High Republic written out? And I think I don't want to be mistaken. I think he said but there's always room for new editions and things like that. So that's cool. If you're talking about the JJ thing and with writing movies and whatnot change all the time, George didn't have a plan for Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. So, granted, movie making is a bit different now, but things have to evolve. Like, take those ridiculous. Oh, I'm sorry, I want to talk smack about movies, but those Fast and Furious movies.
Right. There's like 8 of them now. 9.
I think there's 20. I think there's 20.
there's 20 probably.
There's spin-offs and stuff. There's so many, and they're like announcing another one. It's like, why?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, it's about street racing. Okay, and there's a cop involved. Okay, cool. And then now they're just like superhero movies. And I think they've gone to space in this last one.
Yes.
I'm not kidding. I think they've gone to space. I joked about that maybe 4 movies back. Like, these are getting ridiculous. What's next? They're going to go to space? And then someone was like, that's not a bad idea.
Yes.
Let's drag
Those
race
fools are going to space.
Rockets.
Yeah,
let's drag race some comets.
They'll probably be going around the international
That's what I appreciate about
these
these Fast and the Furious movies. Now they realize that they've kind of jumped the shark, and it's just
like let's
do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just go
they still
crazy.
make money. We can go ridiculous. It doesn't matter.
They'll cross over with those Transformers movies at some point.
Oh,
I wouldn't.
Or Jurassic Park, and they're dealing with dinosaurs, like racing dinosaurs. Who knows? Well, I'll be like, well,
Ben Diesel wrestling a T-Rex or something.
It's all family, and let's go.
Drinking a Corona.
They have to rescue their one dinosaur that got crushed.
Yeah,
that will eventually.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll watch that movie. Like, I'm making fun of it, but I will watch it.
I'll be saying this is stupid the whole way, but I'll probably watch it.
Exactly. And I'll give it probably 4 stars on Letterboxd. It's like just under an anonymous account. But I think that's the point, though, of planning, right? And I don't know if it was like George Martin when Game of Thrones ended. And the whole, season 8 debacle was happening, but it's one of these things of like, you can have like a plan, a certain, milestones that you want to hit. It's a storytelling device, right? And to have kind of that north that drives the story. But as the story is written or acted out or whatever, if it's going a different direction, you should have the flexibility to take it in that direction and not be kind of tied and force it and then have it not feel correct. So I think that's why when I read the whole JJ thing, it was just like he said what's everyone knows if you're a creative. Like you can have a plan, but it's gonna change, and sometimes those changes will work, and sometimes they don't work. Right. So like I didn't see anything about JJ that blew my mind.
You gotta go with the flow. Like like in boxing terms, like everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. So like depending on what direction the wind blows, like okay, I was going to go this way, but now people are really digging this thing, so let me change the story direction a little bit and incorporate more of this thing that people like or whatever.
Right.
It happens.
I think there should have been more planning, though. The same way I say one thing, I'll say the other. Like he needed more planning on Rise of Skywalker, but that's besides the point there. Oh my God, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought there. But going back to planning and High Republic, how do you feel that those comics and those stories are kind of fitting in with the rest of Star Wars and the tone that all the other media has set for it?
I think it's fitting just fine. It's a completely different era, so they can, take liberties with certain things. We're seeing different parts of the galaxy, in a totally different time period. I'm loving it. It's almost like a fresh start, because now you don't have to do what they were doing with Star Wars, like what Disney was doing with Star Wars before, where they were loading it in with female characters and people of color and whatnot, just to kind of even it out from what we've known for the past 40 years. With the High Republic, it is so colorful. Like there's so many different people and shades and genders and stuff. Like there's two binary twins, Sarek and Tarek, and they are or Seret and Tarek, and they're what is it, not like non-binary twins, and they're pretty much one person, so to speak. So they've got those in there, and it's fantastic that they can really open up just the caliber of characters and just different types of people and situations. I think it's fantastic. Like there's so many brown characters and stuff. Like I was saying this to a Daniel Jose Order. I was like, man, you can't throw a rock without hitting a brown person, and I think it's fantastic in the High Republic. I love it. And it's not like there's an exclusion, like they've excluded white people or anything like that. They're in there too. Yeah. It's just it's just evened out, and I think that's fantastic. That everyone gets to step up to the mic. I think that's fantastic.
Right, and to that point, I think the cool thing about it too is just that not that they're there, but they're also protagonists of the story too.
Yes,
and like everyone has got their moment of shine, different stories or comic books and books and novels, and like they have their
and there's
no moment. It's not they're not Robin. They're not
right.
They're not a sidekick.
And there's no caricatures. There's no not that there was to a degree in the old one of Star Wars, as far as any kind of characters of color or anything like that. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotypes or anything like that. Everyone is their own character, and I think like for me, I think my favorite character within the High Republic is Keith Trennis. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a fantastic character. So oh yeah,
and the comic books too. But no, I'm really digging the era, and like the art, right, for the comic books is just beautiful. Like,
fantastic.
It's fantastic. I like all the different alternate covers that they're doing for a bunch of different artists to come in and interpret that world. Is just incredible.
Like let me see, Ario Anandito is the name of the artist for the Marvel High Republic book. Man, he does a fantastic job. I mean, Harvey Talibao, who's on Daniel Jose Older's book on the High Republic Adventures. They bring such like, it's so vivid, and they bring such just good life to these books and give it such a fantastic look, so it really expands what we know of any kind of visual representation of Star Wars. They've expanded on that, and I love what they're doing.
Absolutely. the only thing that I think is missing from now the High Republic, I mean, we've had all this great publishing effort, but in a way, like now it makes me want to have like, I don't know, some sort of video game or something to kind of, you know, bring it to that, you know, Shadows of the Empire type of thing from back, you know, in the Nintendo 64 days. It's like,
yeah,
64 that little extra something.
I would love to see, like I'm a Black Series collector. Like I collect all the figures and, you know, all the comic covers and whatnot. But I would love to see some High Republic Black Series figures, like make some physical content and whatnot, you know, with them, so we can see these characters, you know, outside of just on the pages and whatnot, to really make it more tangible. So yeah, I would love to see that stuff, and definitely a video game. Oh man, I would love a High Republic video game.
I mean, I love that alternate cover of Rising Storm that they announced for Target, because it was like so like realistic, the renderings of like everyone's face. And I'm like, oh my god, like just cast them. You know, come on,
cast them.
Let's do this. Make them jump off the page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it happen.
Yeah, and then get more of an audience and people invested in like this era of Star Wars, because so much of Star Wars so far just focuses on like the Skywalker legacy. But there's a lot of stories in Star Wars. And
exactly.
I mean, it's a galaxy of stories. So I think, you know, we need to get like more content that is more accessible to people that would not necessarily read the comics, but then would find it in another way and then get into it and start reading the comics and start reading the books and start, you know, investing more into it. So
what I'd love to see is for the Skywalker saga to be not, and I love it, and I don't want people to think I hate the Skywalker saga, but I want it to be where the Skywalker saga isn't on this pedestal, and that every other story is just as good, just as important, just you know, as impactful as that one is. You know, like I love it when I hear from people who, you know, their big three are Padme, Obi, and Anakin, or Ahsoka was their in, and like that's their major character. So it isn't just Han, Luke, and Leia. You know, there's so many different ways to get in, and yeah, I'd love to see that stuff. So
Ezra, Mandalorian,
right?
I mean,
there's so many Rebels
Yeah.
fans out there.
Like I am a huge fan of. I think my favorite story in Star Wars is probably the Inferno Squad story with the Iden Versio, Janita Gavankara's character, and like her and Kanan and Finn and Darth Vader. Those are like my favorite Star Wars characters, you know. And this from someone who's been a fan since it's come out, since Star Wars has been around. So
Here we go.
So yeah, I think these are fantastic stories. So I just want to see a lot more important characters that can be just as impactful as the original trilogy mains.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more Iden Versio stories out there to tell, especially with Rangers of the New Republic. I think that was a show I wasn't really excited for in the first place when it was announced, but I think it could be retooled to be like a really cool vehicle for like Iden to be a part of, or Hera. A lot of these, you know, characters, military characters that now would have like a leading role, right, in that New Republic to kind of shine, instead of, you know, characters that we will not just, you know, speak of in this show.
Oh, yeah.
But Knight, to your point about the video, I was thinking that all of a sudden I was thinking of Jedi Fallen Order could be like, if this, because I was reading there might be a sequel to the game, but I would hope that it's it could be like an anthology type of game where it's not a direct sequel story wise, but it could be like Jedi, instead of Fallen Order, Jedi High Republic or something. It's like a story set in that era, and that way it ties into the books or something. I mean, they can't do obviously the sequel to Fallen Order itself proper, but have like a Jedi
love
series.
To see a continuation of the Cal Kestis story. And you know what happens, you know, if something happens between him and Marin, you know, because she's like the last Night Sister, you know? So I would love to see if there's going to be you know, some kind of revitalization of that religion that they have, or what,
so.
or a fusion of both. Jedi and Night Sisters. Force.
I would love to see that
balance. That's true. Balance, right?
That's right.
And I'm
also
always up for
Battlefront,
some more Night Sisters.
Dig it. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes, that's one thing that I think that the Night Sisters could have improved on. Is like having them not be villains, right? Because they were always framed as dark side and they're bad guys. But it's like no, they can. That's what I liked about Marin, right? In Fallen Orders, it's like no, they're not. They're just because they use the dark side doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad guys. And I want to see more of that.
And even in Clone Wars, there were instances where they weren't. Like of course when Dooku had Grievous go in there and kill all of them. It's just a different society, and they just do things differently. I never really consider them villains, but
Perfect. Well, I think this has been like a great conversation.
Yeah, I had a great time.
For, having being with us and sharing all of your insight and knowledge with us. But before we sign off, where can people find you on the socials?
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find me. You can find Broaxium. Just type in Broaxium, and that'll pop up. It should be the only thing that pops up, I hope. And then on personal side, just my name, Chris Ryons. You can add that and find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as well. And
we'll definitely leave those links in the description below. So make it easier for everybody to find you.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. You've been amazing. You have now turned me on into the comics. I am going to have to look into this
Mission
now.
accomplished.
Success. One fan at a time.
Yes, that's right.
One fan at a time.
That's right.
Well, anyway, we are Triad of the Force. You can find us anywhere that podcast can be found. Just search for Triad of the Force. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Everywhere else. We have some awesome merch, shirts and stuff. And, let us know what you want to talk about. Follow us, subscribe, ring that bell. We love you. May the Force be with you.